speaking of additive manufacturing, we are sitting here with Jay Rogers, who is the co-founder and CEO of Local Motors, who is very well known for providing 3D printed vehicles, including Olli. Now, Jay, who or what is Olli?
Olli is our latest vehicle, Emily, and it's a self-driving cognitive shuttle made to take about 12 people.
Okay, where did that name come from?
You know, we were looking for a name that was gender non-specific, something that was cute, and something that was approachable. And Olli came from a contraction of what a pod of octopus looked like, since there are lots of legs and lots of octopus. And so we pulled out that name and decided to run it by a lot of different people in different countries, because Olli will run in a lot of different countries. And then when you look at it, the O and the L and the L and the I begin to look like three little people sitting on a bus, and so that's why we used it.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect. Now, Olli is a cognitive self-driving vehicle. What do we mean by cognitive?
So today, most people understand self-driving, or at least it's self-explanatory. But for cognitive, it's something that is different. What we do is we take all the sensors that are available in the cloud and on your smartphone, and then on Olli itself, and we gather the data that is unstructured, and we structure it into a best fit decision with our partners from IBM Watson to make your life better. So what does that all mean? It means that Olli's going to take you someplace if you're a person, and you need to know, it needs to know when you need to get there, and back plan like we do in our own minds when you need to leave in order to get there on time. But we in our own minds don't often know when other people are leaving, what's going on the road, what's going on with the weather, all those sorts of things. That's the unstructured data that Olli helps put together to tell you, hey, bring an umbrella and leave 5 minutes early if you want to get to your first meeting of the day.
Wow, okay, where did this idea come from?
You know, as we do everything at Local Motors, we think it's the dawn of open systems that make things happen faster, really to get products into the market faster. And so the idea for Olli came from a challenge that we ran the summer before last in Berlin. And we were imagining in a city like Berlin where intermodal transport, bicycles and motorcycles and skateboards and cars, what would Berlin look like in the future? And what would the vehicles that were there need to be in order to be able to make transport happen? And we ran a challenge, and a young man named Edgar Sarmiento from Colombia, living in Italy, as a designer, won the challenge to design the Olli.
Wow, okay, well, once it was designed, how was it built?
So at the time, we were working on a 3D printed car, Strata. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And we were looking for the right moment to build it. And as you know, we do things quickly, so we green-lighted it in March, and 2.5 months later, we debuted the first Olli. And so it's like everything, because we use digital manufacturing and the power of the crowd, came to life very, very quickly. So that was March of 2016, and 2.5 months later, we debuted the first Olli.
Okay, well, how is it going to make all of our lives different?
Well, the thing about Olli, which is unheralded, is that as a self-driving cognitive shuttle, we are used to a bunch of precursor elements that make Olli make our life better. For example, if I had asked you 2 years ago, are you used to calling a car to come pick you up on the corner of a street? You would say, no, I've never done it.
No.
But if I asked you today what Uber or Lyft is, everyone would know.
Common
Most
knowledge.
everyone would know.
Yeah.
And you are kind of frustrated when it doesn't meet you exactly where you need to meet. And one of those frustrations is you end up arguing with the driver, and they'll say, you put a pin here, I drove down this alley, and you're not where I said, and then they cancel your trip, and then they go on to the next person. And it's one of those things where we as customers or consumers are voracious for better service. Well, Olli will make your life better because there's no arguing. If you tell it where you are and then you go to a different place, it will simply come and pick you up at the different place.
Wait, so you can talk to it, but it won't talk back?
Well, it does have a voice and it will talk back, but we don't program it to be a talkback machine. Yeah.
So, I mean, in essence, this is a ground drone in a way.
You know, it's a ground robot, it's a ground drone, and we talk a lot about drones right now because they're interesting. Domino's and Pizza and Amazon have talked about delivering packages of socks or pizzas to you via a drone. And this is a form of drone, but it's an approachable drone, and it's cute.
It's so cute, and it's not intimidating whatsoever. So when you think of a robot, it's a fun robot, it's a friendly robot, it's a robot that's going to help you out and make your life easier.
And already this robot speaks in English, it speaks in Spanish, and it has the capability to speak in many different languages.
Wow.
And our partners at IBM have really helped us to bring that voice of the cognitive system forward so that it's more approachable to people in many languages.
Nice. Now, Jay, last time at IMTS 2014, Local Motors built the first ever 3D printed car named Strata. Strata and Olli, they might be really good friends. How did we get from Strata to Olli?
So that's a great evolution and probably the most important story that we can tell at the show this year, because digital manufacturing allows you to be able to bring technology to the market quickly. But you're nothing if you're not actually using it to do that. So when we printed Strata in the show IMTS 2014, we were showing the world that we could 3D print a vehicle, and we did. We printed it, we assembled it, and we drove it off the show floor. Doug Woods and I went for a drive. It was awesome. But then the question is, what for? Who's going to buy it? And so we want to bring the vehicles that will make your life better to market. Well, Olli is fully half 3D printed, and you really have to come down and see it to believe it. But it's the ability for us to be able to move through sensor sets and different kinds of door configurations and different seating configurations, different load-ins of the traction motor and the steering and all of the other widgets and bits that go into Olli are possible because of digital manufacturing to change up very quickly. And that's how we've come from a 3D printed car where two men are sitting in there driving forward like a normal car to an Olli where a whole world can come and enjoy this new form of transportation.
Well, how does this change up the way a factory operates?
Well, if you're going to digitally manufacture something, as Local Motors has said, the dawn of the microfactory is here. In the United States, Henry Ford, Frederick Taylor, various other pioneers at the turn of the last century brought us mass manufacturing, and it benefited from an economy of scale. Really what that meant was, if I'm going to punch out a lot of Model Ts, I need to have a line that is capable of making them all the same. As Henry Ford was famous for saying, you can have any car you want as long as it's black. And so today, with digital instructions, where I make an Olli version 1, and then next Olli I make a version 1.1, and then next day I make a version 2.0, it means that the line disappears and the factory changes to be able to make increasingly different units at every run. And so that means that we use machines which are instructed by code that is actually driven from the design. So for those of us here at the show, we've known for a while that computer-aided design is possible. But what we also know is that there's usually been a pretty big gulf between the design, a computer-aided design file, and the machining file that actually makes a part. Well, more and more those files are coming together, and with additive today, we're seeing those files really have the opportunity to come together. So it means when you design something, you know what the machine is going to see, and then you also know what it's going to test like in real life. So the factory floor is changing to have digital machines that are run by these file types that make it possible for us to do different vehicles every time we make one.
And how is the supply chain changing?
Well, that's really one of the most challenging parts. Changing the factory, if you can build a new factory, then you can simply have the new factory. And if it's a less expensive factory, then that's attractive to investors. The supply chain's more difficult because you can't simply build new businesses all over the world to supply automotive. I like to joke, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so we want the wheel to be available to us when we need it for the Olli, because we're not 3D printing wheels right now. And so the supply chain has to be able to move more nimbly as you change individual units one by one on the production line. And that's where open comes in. In the traditional way we build vehicles, we typically line up our suppliers about 5 years in advance before we go to market, and then we say, we'll have you on board for this program for 7 years. And it's usually pretty secret, and it's usually not talked about. Today, what we're talking about is telling our suppliers of the future, hey, we're looking at these 17 different models that we're going to do this year. Which one do you want to be part of? And you give them advance notice, and they have a chance to come to you and say, I have a piece, a widget, a part that would work in the specification that you're working on. So we sort of flip the script, and we give a lot more advance notice, but we move more quickly through things, and we are looking for suppliers advanced technologies. We are not the million unit maker of Olli. We want to make 10,000 units of a type of Olli before we move on to the next one, and we want the latest technology.
Wonderful. Well, here at IMTS 2016, we're hearing a lot about the convergence of hardware and software. So how does Olli fit into this?
Oh, wow. What a great question. So today you've seen a lot of Fitbits on people's arms. Maybe they started with Nike Fuel Bands, or there was various other what we call accessories. So you'll see health accessories and people can sort of say, this is what my pulse is, or this is how many steps I did today. Olli is basically like a big Fitbit. That's a good way to think about it. It's an accessory for your life that is very connected to the cloud and very connected to other user interfaces. So when we think about software, in the jargon or the speak, we think about a tech stack. And a tech stack is really the stack of applications and frameworks and languages that make up the instructions that make a computer work. So we have one on our cell phone that we'll use to call Olli, if you will, and pay for it. And then we have one in the cloud that stores the data of where it went and how fast it got there. And then we also have a tech stack that is onboard Olli that says, these are the health and safety reporting that I'm doing of a machine or a robot, and this is where my machine is going, and this is what it's going to do next, and it's predictive maintenance, things like that. So the software that goes into these accessories of our lives is changing rapidly, and getting that tech stack developed is going to help us build ground drones, wrist drones, air drones, and a whole host of other things.
Now, you can not only see Olli, but you can get a ride in Olli at the IMTS Ride Experience, which is located in the new to IMTS 2016 North Building C Hall. Specifically, the booth is NC 790. But Jay, this is brand new as well. So how do we get there? How do we get to IMTS Ride and get a ride in Olli?
Well, you're going to can't miss the Emerging Technologies Center here at IMTS. And when you go through, you're going to see the big 3D printed house, and that's one not to miss. You'll see some examples of old style cars that are 3D printed, and so like an old Jeep or a Cobra. When you go past that, down the stairs, you'll see this beautiful carpet that leads you all the way to the new hall. Follow the white stripes, and then you go down into the new hall, and when you go to the back of the new hall, you'll see the IMTS shop, and you'll see the ride experience. And you can come and you can get your autonomous driver's license.
Well, tell us about that.
Well, when you come down, of course, you need to make sure that you're certified to drive a self-driving vehicle.
That makes so much sense.
Makes so much sense. So when you come, we'll take your picture, and you'll leave with a party favor of the world's first autonomous driver driving license.
Well, be sure that you check out the world's first autonomous driver and get your driver's license at the IMTS Ride Experience, where you can take a ride in Olli. And that is located in booth NC 790. That was Jay Rogers, the co-founder and CEO of Local Motors.